This presentation is an excerpt from First Long Island's 2021 Training Day for First LEGO League coaches. This was recorded on January 10th, 2021. The topics and processes presented here are subject to change and refinement as the season progresses, so be sure to check official First sources for updates.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the missions and the table this year. So what you see here is the picture of this year's field layout, consisting of all your mission models and all the areas on the field. Next slide. This is a picture of the official score sheet that will be used this year. That's also available on the FIRST website under resources. This is what you will see in the hub. This is what you should be using to score your teams with, because this is what we will be using for the actual competition days. One thing to note about this is that there are no points on the score sheet. The referees do not score points. We mark scoring conditions. So a lot of the times we'll get questions of teams asking us about how many points did we get? How many points is this worth? We don't mark what the point values are. We just mark the scoring conditions, and the scoring software actually scores the missions. Next slide. So what we have here is we have local and we have FIRST official submissions. So there is a document on the FIRST website, if you go under challenge and resources, that goes over exactly what you need in order to properly film your match. Please make sure that you review the document with your teams, make sure that the students understand it. I really don't want to end up in a situation where teams film one way the entire season and then realize that it's not, that they're not doing it correctly, and then we have to not score a match based on filming. So the 6th is a perfect opportunity to ask any questions if you're not sure if something's a good enough view. That's the time to really ask. That's when, if you have your video, you submit it, and then we'll give you feedback based on if the lighting's bad, if the setup is not that great. We can give you direction as to which way to go. But I have the link here located. I have the link on the slide here, and basically please make sure that you take a look at that document, because I think FIRST did a really good job this year at trying to move this virtual. Okay, so basic requirements for video. So you need an unedited recording of each run. That's before, during, and after each match with no cuts and pauses. That's very important in that we need a full view of what happens before, during, and then after the match so that we can accurately score the match. Locally, we're looking for videos to be approximately 5 to 7 minutes. We don't want to have 20-minute long videos, just because it's 20 times 3 times how many teams we have, and there's no way we'd be able to finish all of the referee reviews. So we're looking for 5 to 7 minutes. So we're looking for you guys to really kind of streamline how you go through the process, which I'll highlight what's needed before, during, and after the match in the videos. So it's really important to kind of streamline that process so that the videos are approximately 5 to 7 minutes in length. And that would help us a lot. Another local rule that we're implementing here is that if you have like a basket mechanism or something that's used to transport multiple mission models, in the past, we would be able to see it on the field and be able to get a close look at it. This year, it's a little bit different. So you have the option, feel free to submit a picture of that assembly. Either after the match, you can do it after the match, but submit a picture of the assembly into the hub along with your runs, the videos of your runs, and that'll definitely help the referees as they're going through the missions to get an idea on what some of the components look like close up. One thing to note is that, again, you want it to be, as you want the video to be unedited and without any cuts, the camera needs to stay in one place during the entire match. So it's really important to kind of pick a location for that camera that you get the best view of the entire field. With that said, certain things are scored exactly at the end of the match, such as the robot dance and the pull-up bar. If you know that you're going to be focusing on those two missions, you want to definitely make sure to pick a camera location that highlights those two areas. That makes it, you can easily and clearly see the scoring condition at the end of the match. And again, I'm just going to repeat it. Please make sure to read the video recording document thoroughly. They really go into a nice amount of detail and give you some tips. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them. I really want to make sure everybody's successful this season. Next slide. So prior to the robot run, basically you need to lay out all of your equipment in the home area here. And you need to highlight the motors, any motors that you have, as well as your innovation project model, if you have it. The other thing you need to show is that all of your equipment either fits in the large or the small inspection area, and you need to use a ruler in order to indicate that, to show that that it's no taller than 12 inches. Next slide. During the robot run, you want to make sure that you have good lighting. So give it a try a couple of different things, but you want to make sure that you have good lighting with minimal shadows to make it easy to score things on the field. Please provide a verbal cue for the start, such as 3, 2, 1, Lego, whatever you want. But it's really helpful to us to have a verbal start to the match. If you like doing audible narration of what the robot's kind of doing on the field, is always a bonus. It'll help us sort of go through as the robot's going through it. It'll help us sort of follow what the robot is doing. That's not necessary. It's not mandated. It's just if you're able to, it's definitely helpful and beneficial. Next slide. After the robot run, do not stop recording. You need to provide a verbal cue for the end of the match, and then you're going to pan over each mission and just sort of go over what the scoring condition was, which you'll see in a video shortly. But for any mission, you'll go through what the scoring conditions were that you got, what you didn't get, going mission by mission. After going over each mission, while still recording, you can move the camera towards some of the mission models if you want closer views, especially for M02 and M11. That's extremely important because we need to be able to see where the pointer location is to assess the score. Again, you're still going to go over that in the overall overview, and then just for after the fact, we want to be able to actually see it on video. So you'll record the pointer location for M02 and M11, and then your run is over. Next slide. So we're going to go on to notable changes and key points for 2020-2021 this year. One is the home and launch area designation. So this year there's a slight change. So home is still the black area of the black area to the west of the edge of the mat, but it also includes the semicircular area that was once only designated as the launch area. When you're launching, you can only use that semicircular area. When you're coming back to home, home is both the launch area of the mat plus the unmatted, plus the open end of the table. Next. So when launching, again, please remember that home and the launch area are bounded by the vertical faces on the inside of the table. So we see a lot of times teams have some sort of an attachment that swings outside of the table, and then they drive back into home. If it comes back into home and the robot and the team touches it, technically that's an interruption because it's not completely in home. It's outside of the table. Part of it, at least, is partially outside of the table. So definitely be aware of that when you're designing your robots and when you're designing your attachments. When you're launching, please make sure that everything is inside of the launch area. A lot of the time we'll see teams with wires and cables and parts of their attachment or something sticking out over the top face of the table. That's not allowed, and technically that can negate anything that you do on that run. So please make sure that every time you launch, you're making sure that everything is in that launch area. So equipment updates. Jigs can now extend to the west wall. That's also shown in Rule 14. Another change this year is that Spike Prime software in the platform can be used. I think that there will be some information on it, but you can also find information about that on the FIRST website. And now this year, there is no longer a launch height limit. However, there was a stipulation in the rule manual that this is not free game to design a mechanism that's massive and it tips over and does everything on the table. This was made to facilitate creative and more of an iterative design process. So they did have the warning that if they see a lot of oversized attachments, massive pieces, they can implement it next year. So mission model interaction. R04 is different from previous seasons. So you still can't connect mission models from the studs between having stud interlocking, but this year, rather than gravity-based, they're focused more on a time-based approach for separating mission models. So the rule that we came up with in accordance with FIRST is that the models can be secured together or equipment in accordance with R04 such that they can be removed without breaking the model in 1 to 2 seconds without separate Lego tools. Mission models cannot be broken or disassembled even temporarily in this process. If they are, then technically that mission would not score because they were fastened incorrectly. If there's any more questions on that, we can go over it in the next section, in the Q&A section. Next slide. So the next, that's usually a source of confusion, is the interruption procedure. They made it a little bit simpler this year. So I have a table here that gives the condition whether the robot is completely in home and not completely in home, and then the condition of the cargo that the robot is carrying. Whether it's no cargo, cargo in home, partially out of home, and then either with or not with the robot during launch. So this highlights all of the conditions and what will happen in each condition. This just summarizes what's in the rule manual. You should absolutely go back and read the rule manual, but this is a nice summary of the different sections of that rule manual. Next slide. So mission model highlights. So for mission 4, which is the bench, there is a typo in the challenge updates. I don't know if they're going to fix it, but the update states that there are 4 hopscotch positions that are surrounded by a black frame. You'll see shortly. It's actually, there are 4 positions, but 3 of them are with a black frame and 1 of them is with a gray frame. So I'm not sure if a lot of teams were getting a little confused with that, but that was a typo on the challenge updates. The other one is mission 7 and mission 8. Just as a little tip, beware of the potential for negating your score for M8 based on M07 in certain circumstances. So please make sure to read the rules, and as well as the blue text that's in the rules this year. There's a lot of really good information in that blue text, and they kind of give you little hints, tips, and tricks as to how to avoid losing score and things to look out for. As I said before, just to repeat, for mission 2 and mission 11, Please make sure to, at the end of the video, to show the pointer location. And then if you have, like, as I said before, if you have mission models that are attaching together, definitely make sure to send a picture, to attach a picture to the hub for us.
This presentation is an excerpt from First Long Island's 2021 Training Day for First LEGO League coaches. This was recorded on January 10th, 2021. The topics and processes presented here are subject to change and refinement as the season progresses, so be sure to check official FIRST sources for updates.